Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming back to our event today. Very, very excited. We have a speaker here that this is a topic that I've been wanting to get covered, and our speaker here is very knowledgeable in this particular subject, and that is about the corporation. You've heard a lot about this corporation of 1871 and us being under a corporation and no longer a republic. And David Roberts, who's joining us today, knows a lot about this, and he travels around the country speaking about this and what he calls settles assemblies, creates assemblies, but it's all in the direction of getting us back to our original republic. So we can be under the law of the land, right? The land jurisdiction, Dave, and the common law, and that's what we want to get back to instead of what we're under now, which is basically the law of tyrants and the law of edicts and mandates and admiralty law and all the stuff that we don't really want. So our guest is David Roberts. I've recently met Dave, and he's going to tell us a little bit about him and what he does around the country, and then we're going to dig into this. Dave?
All right. Thank you for inviting me. Yeah, I've been doing this for roughly about 37 years. I got started when the IRS tried to lien my bank accounts. And I'm like, something's wrong here because they locked my bank accounts up with a 21-day notice to lien, not a lien, but a notice to lien. And they locked my accounts up. And I'm like, well, what's going on here? And they took my money. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, where's the due process of law? You know, under the Fifth and Sixth Amendments, we're supposed to have due process of law. And so I sued them. I sued the IRS, and it got dismissed on a technicality. But in the process, it was a 6-month process, and in the process, I learned how to remove myself from the matrix. And since that period of time, I have not paid income tax of any kind in the United States for that period of time, for 37 years. So that's how I got started. And then from that, I just kept learning and expanding, and my horizons have gotten higher and broader, and the exposure of the crime and the fraud and the corruption. And I mean, it was rampant. And back when I first got exposed to this, I wanted the world to know about it.
Right.
And guess what? The world didn't want to know about it.
Right. Yeah.
They could care less.
Yeah.
So I had to make an adjustment and wait. And I've been waiting 35 years roughly. And now the time is now. It's right now.
Yeah.
And people want to know right now.
Yeah.
So I'm here. And the secret to getting back our republic form of government that our founding fathers created for us is through the assemblies under the First Amendment, the right to assemble. And it's not a process where a bunch of people get on the street corner with signs and go, assemble, assemble. No, that's not quite what it is. This is a lawful process becoming the first branch of the government. There's 5 branches, not 3. I know they taught us 3, but there's 2 branches that are not even mentioned, and those are in the Bill of Rights. And those 2 branches of the government is what empowers the people. And that empowerment is to take back the government and to bring control of the people, by the people, for the people, under the Bill of Rights. And that's why the 2 are in the Bill of Rights and not in the Constitution. The first one,
right to assemble, right?
Right, the right to assemble.
Right.
And then to support that is the second paragraph of the Declaration of Independence, where it states, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, the governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. In other words, the government does not rule us. They get their authority from us.
Yeah.
We grant it to them. And we don't grant it to them through voting. We do it through assemblies.
Mhm.
Okay. And then the second branch of the government is the common law grand jury, and that's in the 7th Amendment.
Mhm.
And in the 7th Amendment, it states, in suits of common law where the value of controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States, including the Supreme Court. So what that means is that the people in the assembly form a common law grand jury that's made up of 24 people, and they evaluate the evidence, and they look at the victim, and they looked at the perpetrator, which is usually a public official. And if they find that public official has violated his oath of office, and where that comes from is in the Constitution on Article 6, and it states there in Article 6, all executive and judicial officers, both of the United States and the several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation. Bound means they need to be bonded. So the grand jury brings an indictment against that public official for violation of his oath of office. And now the indictment is now submitted to either the Secretary of State or to the Attorney General, and they have to pull that person's bond. And if they don't have a bond, they can't hold office, and they have to be removed. And the best part about the bond is that once their bond is pulled, they become unbondable. They never can get bonded. So if they can't be bonded, they can never hold a public office again.
So that's how you get rid of them.
What's that? I'm sorry.
That's how you get rid of them.
That's how you get rid of them. That's exactly how you get rid of them. And this includes judges, prosecutors, clerk of courts, county commissioners, treasurers, school board members,
Mhm.
coroners, sheriffs, governors, attorney generals, secretary of the state, of your state, every one of them. That's how we do it. One bond at a time.
So if you went after a governor, how would that? Do you still have your phone on? Because I'm getting some feedback.
No, my phone's, I got it on airport mode.
Okay. All right.
I got a fan running in the background. You might be hearing that.
I guess it's okay now. It's gone. I guess it's gone. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you went after a governor, let's say, how would you use an affidavit? How would you? What would,
Okay. It's funny you brought that up because the Ohio Assembly, the Ohio State General Assembly, we filed a remonstrance against the governor, Mike DeWine, and that remonstrance is that's a fancy name for a complaint.
Right.
And we filed a complaint against Mike DeWine for violation of our unalienable rights with the mandatory masks,
Right.
and the mandatory lockdown and the shutting down of the businesses. And we completed that process. We gave him 40 days to respond. He did not respond. So then we filed a notice of default in dishonor. And now we're collecting 200,000 names. That's what we want to collect, 200,000 names to put behind, and these are Ohioans, anybody living in Ohio. We're going to put that behind the remonstrance, and we're going to present it to the powers to be, and hold them accountable under their oath, stating in an affidavit, going back to the Declaration of Independence, which states, I need to mark these pages so I can find them faster. which states that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute a new government laying its foundation on such principles and organizations as powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that the governments long established should not be changed for light of transient causes, and according all experiences has shown that the mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invaluable that the same objective evades a design to reduce them under absolute disposition, it is the right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. So between the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights, we are empowered to replace the fraudulent, corrupt, dictatorial government from our midst right now. We have the power to do that.
Great. Well, I wish you luck with that action in Ohio.
Well, it's already been done in Illinois.
Okay, and did it work?
Yeah, Governor Pritzker has been removed from office.
Wow, I didn't know that. Is that
Yeah,
recent?
March 15th. Yeah, you're not going to know about it. They don't want anybody to know that.
Wow, we got to get that work. Okay, so we're going to get that out. So everybody needs to spread the word on that. I hadn't heard anything.
Right.
So that's amazing.
Right. We've been tracking that. The Ohio Assembly and several other state assemblies have been tracking that. And Pritzker he had to leave office. He had an ultimatum. He had to leave office by the 15th of March. And nobody has seen hide or hair of him since. But they haven't officially announced that he's been removed from office.
Wow,
because then it caused a landslide.
Well, we got to spread the word on that, because then they use that with Whitmer and
right,
and Gruesome Newsom and Brown in Oregon and Isley in Washington and all these criminals.
Right, all these criminals. Como.
Yeah, he's in another class all by himself. Yeah,
he'll be lucky if he gets to leave with his life.
He's murdered. He's responsible for murder.
Exactly, murder.
Yeah, probably hundreds, maybe thousands.
Right. So that's and that all comes from the power of the assembly. Yeah. Where we need the people to stand up, and General Flynn, Trump have all said for the last 4 years, the people have got to stand up. Now, what they were referring to was the assemblies, that people need to come together and assemble and enforce their rights under the Bill of Rights, right. Under the Bill of Rights, enforce their will.
Right.
We have all the power.
Yes, we do. And so we just need to organize, and we need to know what we're doing.
Correct.
But what I'd like you to do is explain how this all relates to, because Lynn Wood has been talking about this. General Flynn has talked about it. All of these guys are talking about the fact that, it's possible that Trump might come back in and be the president of the original republic, not the corporate government that we've been operating under since 1871. So could you explain that a little bit to people so they can understand what that all means and how that happened?
Okay. On March 4th, 1861, Abraham Lincoln was elected president. Abraham Lincoln was a bar member. Bar is a British accredited registration. And anyone that is a bar member, that means all attorneys and judges and prosecutors and clerk of courts, some clerk of courts, took an oath to the crown of England. And hang on a second, that's me. I got to get rid of this. Okay, sorry about that.
Okay.
they have a bar license, and under that bar, they are a foreign agent to the United States. And their their allegiance lies with the crown in England, in London. And they so they're foreign agents. And the War of 1812 was over the 13th Amendment, which barred the bar from having any political office in the United States.
Right. Any member of the bar.
Any member of the bar who wanted to have any political aspirations could not be a member of the bar. They had to be removed. And so the first bar member, I mean, there was many bar members in the government. Hamilton, Benjamin Franklin, they were all bar members.
Mm-hmm.
But the known bar in the American Bar Association, which started in Chicago, Abraham Lincoln was that first bar member to hold office in the United States. And the southern states didn't like it, didn't set well with them. Mm-hmm. And among many other things. And so on March 27th, 1861, so he was president for 20 days, the South, the 6 original states of the South, seceded from the Union, and they were allowed to do that because they were the United States was formed under a union of states, and each state was of the union of the federal government. Okay, it wasn't the United States wasn't a country; it was a country made up of these union of states. Right. All right, up to that point. And then on March 27, 1861, since there was no longer to convene a forum, the Congress sin died. And what that means is that they adjourned without a future date. And because of the 7 states or 6 states that left the Union, that ended the Republic. And the Republic, as we know it, under the Constitution of 1786, or 1789, I'm sorry, 1789, ended. Mm-hmm. And that meant, when it ended, that meant there was no executive branch, there was no judicial branch, no Supreme Court, there was no legislature, all right? That was all gone. So President Lincoln was a president for 20 days, and then he was no more. So on April 15th, what day is April 15th in this country right now? It's tax due date. Yeah. So April 15th, 1861, he reconvened Congress with bar members, and he filled the seats of Congress with bar members. And he incorporated under the United States Incorporated. And we became a corporation, and he claimed the United States, the boundaries, the metes and bounds of the boundary of the United States was a country, and there was no more union of states. They were all states as part of the corporation. And so what the war was, the Civil War, it actually really wasn't a civil war. What it was is that the southern states were fighting for their sovereignty, individual sovereignty as a state. And the federal government was trying to crush that sovereignty. And it was all planned, by the way. It was all planned by the international bankers. And that's another story. Right. But so the Union was the bad guys, not the good guys. They portrayed it in history and in our history class that the Union was the good guys and the Southerners were the bad guys. And that's not true. The Southerners were fighting for our freedom. Right. And the Union was fighting for the international bankers to overthrow our republic. So then from that, we then in 1863, Lincoln instills the General Rule 100, which was the Liebert Code, which eventually became the Geneva Convention in the Second World War, and put us under military doctrine. And under military doctrine, we're not under martial law, we're just under military rule. And we became a military democracy with General Rule 100. And then of course Lincoln died at the end of 1865. He was assassinated, and that's another inner story. And all that was because he didn't agree with the international bankers, and so they decided to take him out. And so anyhow, then we move up to 1869 or 68. I'm sorry, 1868. Which was the creation of the illegal 14th Amendment.
Right.
And what that did is that amendment enslaved the whole entire United States of America.
Made us all U.S. citizens.
Right. Now, in order for you to be a U.S. citizen, this is the deception and the lie and all the falsities out there. In order for you to be a U.S. citizen, you have to be born in Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
So if you weren't born there, you're not a U.S. citizen. That's the lie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they trick people. The banks do it. The post office does it. Insurance companies, the BMV, they all do it. Is they ask you, are you a U.S. citizen? You know, and everybody's trained and they go, yeah, I'm a U.S. citizen, not knowing that they have just relocated themselves to Washington.
Yeah.
And they have abandoned the land.
Mm-hmm.
And that's critical to understand that they have moved us out to sea, and how they did that is with the 14th Amendment. Mm-hmm. And moved us under Admiralty law and moved us out to sea. Mm-hmm. Because we abandoned our land.
Right.
So now we move up to 1871, and this was what happened in 1871 is more than criminal. It's terrible what they did. Congress needed more money because of what happened with the Civil War, and they need to rebuild the southern because Ulysses Grant destroyed, or Sherman, I'm sorry, Sherman destroyed the South.
Yeah.
And I mean, just devastated it. So we had to rebuild the country. So they needed money. So they went to the international bankers and asked the bankers if they could get a loan. And the bankers said, yeah, no problem. We'll give you all the money you want. But you have to go into a new constitution. And you have to settle Washington, D.C. as a nation state. Up until then, Washington wasn't a nation state. So they went under the ownership of the Vatican. And the Vatican owns Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. is a foreign country inside the United States of America. Mm-hmm. And that was the act of 1871. And they went under a corporate charter called the United States of America, all caps. It's all caps. It's the United States of America, all caps. And it's a corporation. And its shareholders is the international bankers, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Lehman Brothers, all of them.
Schiff's, Warburg.
Yeah, Warburgs, correct. The Warburgs, all of them own the United States Incorporation. And what happened there, and this is the crime, we, the people of this great land, ceased to have any form of representation by the government. We no longer had a voice in Washington. They did not have to acknowledge us or pay any attention to us whatsoever, because they answered to the shareholders.
Right.
The board of directors were the congressmen and the senators of the federal government. And they work for the shareholders, and the shareholders are the international bankers.
Unbelievable.
And that was the crime. That's when we were robbed. And then there's many successions of events that took place after that to enslave us, which was the bankruptcy, which was the collapse of the market
Mhm.
in 1929. That was deliberate by the international bankers to put us in a situation just like they're trying to do right now with the mask and the mandatory vaccination and lockdowns and all that. Same type of situation as they did with the Great Depression, and then they created this savior by Dwight not Eisenhower, but
Eleanor Roosevelt.
yeah, Delano. Thank you, Delano Roosevelt, who came forth and gave us the great deal, which was slavery.
Yeah.
And he enslaved us under there was back up a little bit. There was the Federal Reserve that was created in 1913.
Right.
And that was the third charter bank, the
Right.
international bankers' third charter bank.
Right.
And then they, with that, became the certificate of live birth and the birth certifications that came out of that. The
That's the
IRS
whole
came out of
scam.
that.
Yeah, the scam with the birth
Right.
certificates.
And then they waited 20 years.
Yeah.
So 1913, 20 years, 1929, they are 23, boom, they drop all this on us.
Mhm.
And then in 1933, they instituted it all.
Right.
They instituted 2 acts that locked us all down into indentured servitude. And we are now, what, 5, 6 generations into this.
Right.
And that is the Emergency Banking Relief Act, 1933, March 9th, 1933. And then the Emergency or Trading with the Enemy Act in
Mhm.
1939.
So make us all enemy combatants.
Yeah, with that act, we all became enemies of the state, and
Mhm.
we became prisoners of war
Mhm.
in our own country.
Mhm.
We were invaded by the bar, taken over by the international bankers, and imprisoned in our own country under indentured servitude. And everything that you own, you don't own. You don't own anything. You own nothing. You own no house, no car, no nothing. You don't own it. You have a deed. You don't have a lodial title. You have an equity title for your car. You do not have a certificate of ownership.
Right.
And it goes from there. I mean, everything else, your utility bills, you have to pay utilities. Utilities are supposed to be free. As of HGR 192, which was passed in, I believe, in July of 1933. And what that HGR 192 does is it makes all of us creditors, not debtors. And because we're creditors, we shouldn't be paying for anything. That's what that was all about. The treasurer, the United States Treasury, took on all the debt, and they were supposed to pay our debts. But the international bankers said, "Wow, we ain't going to make that much money if Treasury pays all the debts." So they created this thing called a straw man,
Right.
and created this franchise character upon your birth. You didn't even know it.
Mhm.
And it's worth, and I'm gonna repeat this, worth hundreds of billions of dollars.
Mhm.
And that's no exaggeration. You can look this stuff up. You take your number, it's a 12-digit number in the upper right corner of your certificate of live birth,
Right.
and you go find a Series 7 broker with a Series 7 license, and you give him that number and you ask him to look up your QSIP. CUPIS, I believe is how it's spelled, QSIP. It's an acronym. And they'll look it up. And with that, he should tell you what, just for one, and you have many,
Mhm.
just for one, mine was worth $287 billion.
Mhm.
That was 5 years ago.
Hmm.
Just one.
Right.
And you got hundreds of them, because any life insurance policy you signed, any tax return you've done, any driver's license application you filled out, any mortgages on your house, any utilities that you opened up, they monetize that. Anywhere you write your signature, you enter your signature on any document, they monetize that. They take it out on the stock market and they sell it. It's worth billions of dollars. That's the corruption,
Yeah,
because none of that money comes back to us. Not one penny,
right.
not one penny.
Yeah. So that gives you people an idea of what they've done to us without our knowledge, without our consent. You mentioned consent when this whole thing started. So this
Right.
is all done. This has all been done without our consent.
Yep.
And so that is that our out? Is that the key to getting out of this? That we haven't given our consent, and this is all
Right.
fraudulent.
Right.
And then,
Fraud, any fraud, okay. First of all, there is no statute of limitation on fraud, just like murder. There's no statute of limitation. Second of all, anything that was perpetrated in fraud is null and void on its face, right on the spot.
mhm,
All you have to do is make notice. Once you make notice, it's over with. It's fraud.
mhm,
Once you identify it and you bring it forth by making a notice to the Department of Treasury or to the court or, you know, to the Secretary of State, whatever the case may be,
right.
it's null and void. And they know that. They
Right.
know it. This is not a secret to them.
Mhm,
It's not, I mean, your police officers know a lot of this stuff. All right. And that's the sad part. You know, when you push them and pressure them, they'll reveal that they know about this. The clerk of courts know about this. Your judge in the court, that's a bank.
mhm,
That courtroom is a banker's courtroom. That judge sitting on the bench is a banker. He's not judge. And everything that they're doing in their courtroom is to liquidate your estate, that cestake account that was created at your birth. They're trying to get you to sign your name to release money to them. And that's what they're trying to do. Any court case, traffic ticket, jaywalking, parent disputes, child possession, anything like that, divorce court, they're trying to get you to sign a document of any kind, and they could take out a bond. And you know, a simple traffic ticket, they take out 3 bonds. Each bond is worth $2 million. So on a simple traffic ticket, that's $6 million they're making on a simple traffic ticket. And I've been down to municipal court on the day of traffic tickets, and they got 30, 40, 50 people stacked in that, you know, waiting in the outer hallways, waiting to be called, their name called. And there's a $6 million bond sitting there. They're accumulating, robbing out of the cestake accounts. There's no reason why any of us are living in poverty. There's no reason why any of us have drug addiction or alcoholic addiction or anything else, because there's more than enough money to put us in drug rehab or any kind of healthcare situation. Our streets should be immaculate. Our cities should be immaculate. There's more money, but they want the money siphoned off for their purposes, which is war and drugs and human trafficking, and that's where the money's going.
So they can make even more money.
Right. So they can
on all
make
those
even more
things.
money. And organ harvesting, that's another big money maker for them.
Right, right, right. Yeah, yeah. The drug trafficking, human trafficking, those two are probably
Right.
two of the biggest income earners now, and the governments are all tied up in that, right?
I saw a film in Syria where because the parents were mostly killed off because of the war, and so they were taking the orphans, and they had a clinic set up there, and it was a mass production clinic, and they were harvesting these kids' organs. You know, and they have to, I don't know if you're aware of this, but they have to do that when the child is alive.
Mhm.
So they anesthetize the child, and then they harvest their organs while they're alive.
Amazing.
I mean,
Yeah,
this is some evil stuff.
yeah, yeah.
That's why we have to assemble.
That's what
But
we
we
have
can
to.
eradicate this, or at least our country, and Canada also can fall. Well, actually, any Commonwealth. So Canada, Australia, New Zealand, England, South Africa, they can assemble. All of us can assemble and eradicate their countries of this plague that we're
And so where does doing what I've done with the assembly here in Florida, done my paperwork to extradite myself from the U.S. citizenship to state citizenship or state national. Is that where do you see that in this whole process, and what's the value of that?
Okay, well, any form of citizen is still enslavement.
Okay.
You want to be free. You either want to be an Ohioan or a Floridian, or and you want to be a national, okay, like a state national, but you don't want to be a citizen.
Right.
Whether you're a state citizen or a federal citizen, U.S. citizen, you're still entrapped in the Roman hierarchy of their, the Roman civil law.
Okay.
Which
so
is
citizen is not what you want to be. You want to be a
right.
state national. Well, that's what I have on my card, state national.
Okay.
Of Indiana, because I'm born in Indiana. So it's your state that you're born in, and then you're no longer a U.S. citizen when you go through that. So
right.
you shouldn't have to pay taxes, right? You shouldn't have to pay property taxes, right?
No,
taxes or property taxes.
Any person out there that should never be paying income tax to the federal government.
Mm-hmm.
And since the state government is only a corporate franchise of the federal government, you don't owe state income tax either. And that includes city and county income tax,
mm-hmm.
because they're all franchises of the federal government.
Mm-hmm.
So all you have to do is file a W-8 BIN, that's capital B, capital E, capital N, stating that you're a foreign alien to the U.S. government. And that removes you from having to pay any income tax to the federal government.
Or the state governments, or even the city government, because they're all like sub corporations or
correct.
franchises of the
right.
federal corporation.
Correct. Sub chapters of the federal government.
Right. So are you doing both? Are you creating assemblies and helping to establish these assemblies in the constitutional way, and also helping people extradite themselves from U.S. citizenship? Both?
Yep, all the above.
Okay.
It's the hardest problem right now is education, because the people, I mean, I've been in conferences where I said, okay, show of hands, everybody that has unalienable rights, show of hands. Mm-hmm. Nobody puts their hand up. Mm-hmm. I go, okay, how many people have Bill of Rights? Maybe I get 2 or 3 people. Right. I say, okay, all right, how many people have civil rights? Mm-hmm. Everybody puts their hands up. Mm-hmm. And I go, okay, here's the shocker, guys. None of you has civil rights, because civil rights are granted by the government, and your rights are unalienable. They were given to you upon your birth.
Yeah.
God gave you those rights.
Right.
So you have unalienable rights. You don't have civil rights. No one has civil rights except slaves.
Right.
It's just like voting. Only slaves vote. Mm-hmm. So you're in a slave system.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about, so you're doing what you do. I don't know what you do. What do you call your organization, or what you're doing?
Okay. Well, I'm anchored with the Ohio State General Assembly in Ohio.
Okay.
And we are de jure. And what de jure means is that we are under the government of the people, for the people, by the people. And that's an interim de jureship. And I know it's going to get a little confusing, but in order to be fully de jure, we have 88 counties in Ohio. We need to settle 66 of them. And what settlement means is that each county forms its assembly, and there's a process. And when that process is completed, then that county is on the land. It's now returned to the land. It's not at sea any longer.
Mhm.
And when we have 66 counties, then the state of Ohio is on the land also, which now allows us, the people, to demand that the de facto government, the fraudulent, illegal government that's in place right now, put there by the international bankers, has to vacate. They have to leave. They have to leave office. They have to go away. And if
So
they don't, then we
that's-
remove them.
That's what you're working on in Oregon right now with Brett, right? With his
Right, correct.
88 states that he's doing. So is it the same in every state? 3/4? It looks like, it sounds like 3/4.
Yeah, three quarters of every I mean, like I think Kentucky's got 126 counties, so
Right.
3/4 of 126.
Right.
Same with Tennessee. They got like 100 and some counties.
Right.
Nevada, they're lucky. They only got, I think, 16 counties.
Right.
Their counties are huge.
Absolutely enormous. Like Sheriff Watts County, I just interviewed him, is bigger than the state of Connecticut.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Yeah. And
yeah.
they have to have 11. They have to have 11 out there to settle Nevada.
Yeah. Yeah. So how many people like you are going around doing this
Not enough.
Not enough.
Not enough.
So you and I have talked about this before, but I just want to share this with people who are listening. There are different groups that are doing this in different ways. And what Dave and I have been talking about is we really want to try to bring these groups together. There's Judge Anna's groups, which is the Assembly of the States, and she's got an Assembly of the States organization in all 50 states. So they're pretty well organized, great people, well-meaning. Everybody's, really moving towards the same direction, but we have different ways of doing it. And it's going to be, I think, ever more confusing. And unless we unite and try to somehow do this together. So I'm really glad that we got together and you've explained what you have. It's very, very similar to what Anna has been saying. There's some slight differences, but I think really, in essence, it's all the same. And then there's David Straight, who he's amazing because there's been nobody that's been as successful as him in court. And going into a courtroom and just completely taking control of the court and getting what he wants. And usually that involves saving children from child services and getting back. And I think he's somewhere around 240 children that he's saved from child services and gotten back into their parents' hands. So we are going to have him here in Florida, June 25th, 26th, and 27th for a 3-day, all 12-hour-a-day conference. And I invite you to invite, anybody that you have in Florida to come to that because, I think his knowledge is pretty deep.
Yeah. Yeah, he knows his stuff.
Yeah. But I would like to have a conference where we get you and Judge Anna and David and a few of us that have been involved with this for a long time and see if we can work out the differences and have a uniform system. I think we'd be 100 times more powerful if we did.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. That's my biggest peeve right now is I know of right now off the top of my head, I know 6 organizations are trying to build assemblies across the United States and none of us are working together.
Right.
And I appreciate what they're doing and what they're trying to do, but we're divided.
Yeah.
We're not focused.
Right. Well, I've been, in the freedom movement, libertarian. I ran for governor of Iowa as a libertarian in the Libertarian Party, and trying to organize in free-thinking individuals is worse than herding cats. And that's
I can relate to that because that's part of my problem. I'm a free thinker. So, what you say, you can say one thing, I'm with you all the way, and then you say one thing and boom, I'm out.
Yeah, that's it. I'm not working with you. How many times have I heard that? It's just, and it's really, foolish because we really need to figure this out, Dave. We really do.
Yeah, we do. We really do. I mean, our survival of this country and the survival of this world is for us to come together. That's the secret. We got to come together. We got to find common ground. We got to find equal footing. We got to. Because if we don't, the cabal is going to beat us in the ground each and every time.
Exactly. Exactly. But if we unite, they can't defeat us.
That they can't. They
Yeah,
can't.
we're too powerful. Speaking of that, did you see the Tulsa event this last week?
No,
Tulsa
I didn't.
Freedom? Oh, it was amazing. Really amazing. Really good. A big shift in consciousness.
Good.
Yeah, yeah.
Was that part of the pushback? There's a
I
video called Pushback.
not sure, but it was in Tulsa. There was thousands of people there in the crowd. I think four or 5,000 people there live,
Wow.
and well over 500,000 watching live, and then millions more on Telegram right now, and everything else, sharing the videos from there. But they let it all out. I mean, it was a total disclosure of the pedophilia and the child trafficking and the use of children to compromise politicians, and it's been going on for
Right.
many years. And
Decades.
yeah,
Probably centuries.
probably centuries, but I knew because I knew Johnny Gosh, the story about Johnny Gosh. They even did a movie about Noreen, his mom, and Johnny, and little Johnny got lost because he was stolen, and she was from Des Moines. I lived in Iowa then, so I heard her speak and met her several times, and that story went viral. So it's been gradually aware, but hundreds of thousands of children go missing every year in this country. Where are they going? Well, they're never found. Johnny was never found.
Right.
But what Noreen found in doing her research and investigating is that the reason she wasn't getting anywhere with law enforcement at any level, federal, state, or local, is because this is institutionalized. It's
Right.
part of the system,
Right.
and people don't want to acknowledge that. But
The biggest traffickers in the United States is family court.
yeah, family court. And then you've got,
Most evil court in the land is family court.
yeah, exactly. And that's where David Strait has been very, very successful, because they do think they make it as complicated and hard to deal with as possible. But if you really know the law, you can still win,
Right.
but you really got to know, like
Actually, all you need to know is your Bill of Rights and
Yeah.
stand on your Bill of Rights.
Right.
Because if they take an oath to the Constitution, and if they act outside of the Constitution, they are now committing treason upon the Constitution. And so if they do not respect your unalienable rights, they are now in violation of their oath. That alone, you could go through judges like crazy, because every time they stand on color of law, they violated your unalienable right.
Mm-hmm. So you got to know what you're doing, though, in those
Exactly. Yep.
So we've gone about the time that we can go, and what I'd like you to do is maybe sum up for everybody. What would your main 2 or 3 things you want to say to this audience about our sovereignty and restoring our country to the original republic?
What I'd like to see is the people of this country to come together in the form of an assembly to learn your unalienable rights, because if you don't know your unalienable rights, you don't have any.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have any if you don't know them.
Mm-hmm.
And if everybody spend 5 minutes a day reading their unalienable rights, they don't have to memorize them, just read them. So they know they exist and what they mean. If the general public would do that, this would be a whole different world. The cops wouldn't even be able to do the stuff they do when they pull you over on the side of the road. They couldn't get away with all the things that they try to get away with. That is so important. And with that alone, it'd be so much easier to unite the people.
Yeah, yeah. So know your Constitution and really know your Bill of Rights.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, listen, thank you so much. It was very, very good. And thank you everyone for joining us today. And as you'll know, and note in our virtual summit brochure, there's 3 or 4 other speakers on this subject or related subjects. So I'm trying to do my best for you to know what our rights are and how we can get back to our original land jurisdiction, common law, freedom-based republic. So thank you for joining us today.